Thom Stay.
How about my stupid hero story first?
Okay.
The only time I was really a hero, but it was a dumb thing to do. I was 22, living in Idaho Falls, single, and I was downtown shopping in Idaho Falls, and I was near one of the stores that we shop at all the time. At least I had shopped because I wasn't married then. And a man came running down the street as fast as he could, and there was a policeman after him, chasing him. He didn't have his gun drawn, but he kept yelling, "Stop," to this man. And this man crossed diagonally across the street in front of me, and I ran as fast as I could, tackled him and hammered him down into the blacktop and held him till the policeman came and got him. And then I went home, and I started shaking a little bit because I realized he could have had a gun and easily pulled it out and nailed me real easy. He could have hurt me real bad. He could have knocked me down instead of me knocking him down.
I would have you, you start with tackling the guy.
Okay. Anyway, he crossed the street diagonally in front of me. He was going full blast to get away from the policeman, and I was at a diagonal to him. So I crossed over and caught him in the middle of the street and tackled him and held him down. It was kind of a rough tackle because we were in the middle of the blacktop. And then I got home. I was scared because I realized I didn't think about whether he had a gun or not. And then my hand was bleeding a lot. And I looked at my hand, and I had pieces of macadam or blacktop dug down inside my hand. And I couldn't get it out, so I bandaged it over one day, and then the next day I went to the doctor, and they numbed it up and cut it open and pulled the macadams out, pieces of basically stone and tar. And that's my stupid hero story. I didn't have insurance, so it cost me, $80, $90 to fix that. That was approximately 1/3 of my salary in those days. So I, at the risk of losing my life tackling the guy, because I didn't realize what I was doing, who I was tackling, except he was just the policeman chasing him. It also cost me $90 to get my hand fixed. And end of that story. Next story.
As a young man, you got to know another young man named Thom Stay.
I knew Thom Stay in grammar school, at Greenwood Grammar School in 5th and 6th grade. He was a grade behind me, but he lived approximately 2 blocks from me. Real nice boy, nice guy. When he left to go to live in Indio, where his dad was farming, he used to farm, go out there and have people farm, and then you come back and live in this Montebello town where we lived. But they came back to live to stay when he was a sophomore in high school, and I was a junior. We were the same age within a month. But he missed the date for which kids can go to school in those days. So we got to be good friends, just a little bit of time. And I was running around with a bunch of guys who were drinking alcohol, beer mostly. And I was drinking with them. I was not a Mormon. I was not baptized. Didn't even know what a Mormon was. And so we used to go out on Saturday nights and drink with a bunch of guys. And sometimes we'd stay overnight down at the park, Pershing Square, and sleep on the grass. And the next morning, go to the Church of the Open Door, which is the Amy McPherson church. That there were very good-looking girls that went there. So we would go there to see if we could find some girls. I was with much older guys than me and much rougher than me. But they were I got to know them through my sister, who was dating some of those older guys out of high school. They weren't even in college and then. So I asked Thom when he came back to school. That was what would have been about midway through 1955-56, and my junior year in high school, his sophomore. I said, "Thom, you want to go out with us?" And he went out with us. He didn't want to be there. We went down to see Huggy Boy, who is a great, well-known disc jockey down in Central and Vernon, in the middle of Watts. And South Central, they called it. And it's a rough area, very rough. But Huggy Boy was somebody, he played records in front of a record shop, and he had his office all set up in the front, where he'd sit there and play these records over the radio. We'd listen to him many years, a couple of years now, ever since I got old enough to kind of think about it. And he had long, long bony fingers and purple suede shoes that he had with long suede on it. Looked like hair on it. That was Huggy Boy. And we stay out till 11:30, 12 midnight, and go to Pershing Square sometimes and sometimes not. But he wanted to go home. He was in the wrong crowd. He knew that for a while. I kind of thought I was in the wrong crowd, but at least I was with the crowd. And a lot of these kids, sometimes you go with football players and do the same thing. Go and drink and see what you can get into and what problems you can create. One time I even joined them when they went over the back fence of a liquor store to steal beer out of cases they had stored there. And you crawl over the fence and boost them up, and guys are boost these cases over, and free beer for 2 weeks. That's my wonderful story. Isn't that a wonderful story? But the next...
That's the backstory.
That's the backstory. And now the rest of the story. The next week, I asked Thom if he wanted to go with us again. And Thom said, "No, but could you give me a ride?" I said, "Where to?" He said, to the East Los Angeles. And East Los Angeles was about 2 miles from us. It's just down a little bit. And so I find, so you want to go to the East LA Steak Center? And I said, "Steak Center? You're going to have dinner there or something?" He said, "No, it's a church thing." So I took him, and he was in a tie jacket, because dances when we were kids, first joined the church, near the beginning of the church, everybody had to wear a shirt and tie, and girls' nice dresses to go to the stake dances. And everybody went to stake dances, from 14 years old, 13 years old, up to adults. There were lots of adults that liked to dance, and so they would be there. And they always had live bands. There were no records playing things, no scratchy stuff. And when I let Thom off, I was impressed with his dress, because there weren't anything like that kind of dress in my home. And then as he started to go in, there was lots of good-looking ladies coming in with him, around him, at the same time. They were going into the East LA Steak Center Cultural Hall, which I thought it was a gym, but anyway. They went in, and I thought, that's cool. And so the next week at school, I talked to Thom, and I said, "Can I go to that dance with you? Or is it, you have to be a member or something to go?" And he said, "No, you can go with me, but you have to wear a shirt and a tie and a jacket." I said, I don't know where I'm going to get a shirt and a tie and a jacket, but I went and used one of my dad's 2 jackets, and it fit me kind of big, because I was a little small guy. I was quite small still. I was about 5'4" there, and my dad was about 5'6", so it wasn't. But I outweighed him, so it was a little tight, but the arms were long. So I went, and it was fun. So much better than our high school dances, where 10% of the people danced, and everybody else stood around that corner and outside and talked and pointed at people and talked. And it was really dark at our school dances. But this was all light, lit up completely. And they had on the stage, which is at one end of the cultural hall, was where the band was and stuff. And it was really fun. And I enjoyed it. I loved to dance all the time when I was young. And my dad was a great dancer, and I followed his footsteps, although my mother taught me how to dance. So I went to the dances with him for a while, and danced with everybody I could find that looked like they knew how to dance, and that they were good-looking girls, not boys. And pretty soon Thom said, you want to play church basketball with me? I thought, man, go play at the church in basketball, something, you know. And I said, well, sure, that's okay. So he said, come go to Mutual with me. And I said, okay, so I'll go mutually with you. I went to Mutual. And Mutual, and at least in this ward in those days, we didn't have lessons. We had activities every Tuesday night. There were activities. And one night we made pizza at somebody's house. Another night we made cake at the ward. We all got around and learned how to make the cake and everything. We had lots of activities, doing things together all the time. And that was a blast. Good kids, kids I knew, you know, were not drinkers or anything. And I played basketball on the weekends for the ward. And I had a fun time playing basketball. And when that got done, I played softball for the ward. And I was an excellent softball player in those days. I wasn't very quick because my knee still was torn cartilage, but I could sure hit the ball a ton. So I had a lot of fun, and I could hit fast pitch. That's all there was fast pitch softball in those days. So I don't know how this thing's going to work now because I'm shifting positions.
We're okay so far.
Okay. Anyway, Thom asked me to come to church on Sunday. Kind of leading me in, you know. And I said, that'd be fun. I was a Baptist at the time. I had played flag football and basketball for the Baptist just before I played there, and I went to the Catholic Church the year before that, so I was searching. And so I went to they had meetings in those days, priesthood and Sunday school in the morning, and you come back at night to go to sacrament. So I didn't go to sacrament. I went to priesthood and Sunday school. We had approximately 24 kids, boys and girls of the Sunday school age, our age. And
It's a big group.
yeah, large group. And the Sunday school teacher for the girls was the wife of the Sunday school teacher for the boys. And so they're real close, and they had all kinds of activities. One of the things we did one Sunday is we went to church for about 2 months. We went to a different church every Sunday. You know, after Sunday school, we just take off and, okay, we'll meet you over there. Kids had cars, we gave rides to others, and we went to a church. We went to, I don't know how many different churches there were that I went to with them, because he wanted to teach them comparative religion. And this was after Sunday school. You could just go right then. And that was fun, really interesting to learn. I, went to the Friends Church and, things I'd kind of heard a little bit about. I didn't go to the Foursquare because I had belonged to the Foursquare when I was younger. Didn't go to the Baptist because I knew the Baptist pretty well. In fact, I really didn't want to go to the Baptist and see all the kids that I no longer was hanging around with. And so I kept going. And they started, and they were going to have an activity in the summer for the priests. And they were called in those days junior M-men. And junior girls were called junior gleaners in Mutual. And they were going to have an activity for the summer. I forget what it was going to be. But you had to be 100% from some date, whatever it was, March or something like that, before you had the activity. So they said, well, we want you to go, but you got to be, Thom said, you got to be 100% too if you want to go. So I decided to be 100%, so I could go. And I really love these people. In fact, one of the kids just wrote me an email that I knew back then, I haven't seen now for years. He married a girl that was in that class. Tommy Taylor. But anyway, I didn't go to the activity because I was working. I got a job that summer and was working heavily at a A.O. Smith supply store. Anyway, so I went on, and one morning I was really sick, and so it was decided among the quorum that meant 100% for everybody, not just the people who could show up 100%, if they could make it happen. So they called my mom and said, can we come over? We'd like to hold priesthood meeting there. My mother went, priesthood meeting, huh? I think she kind of meant priestcraft or something, what's going on here. So they came over and they got in my bedroom and had a priesthood meeting, a lesson, and everything. And I was impressed. I thought they really liked me coming. They liked me being there, and I enjoyed them. So midway through the summer, I said, how do I join this church? And they said, well, you have to go through the lessons. And I thought, I mean, I just can't go sign my name. In the Baptist church, you just signed your name and you were enrolled in the church, you know. That's what I did with almost all churches except Catholic. Catholic had to be sprinkled a little. I never was sprinkled because everybody knew I was Catholic when I went to Catholic school anyway, and I wasn't. So I thought that's something wrong with that, but I said, well, I'll take the lesson, see it. I'll see if it's okay. And the lessons were 12 weeks of lessons in those days. They were missionary lessons. And I did them in 6. I did 2 a week. I just wanted to get the lessons out of the way because I wanted to join. And I got a semi-testimony, meaning I got a light testimony of the church. I didn't get in-depth. I didn't get in-depth until 2002. So I had enough that I liked the lifestyle, I liked the people and the way they believed and all that. And so I asked Thom to baptize me. I was supposed to have somebody baptize me, and he took me with the ecclesiastical leaders to the Dittman branch, which is right in the middle of East LA, which is at that time was the only baptismal font there was. And it was at a great big room, like a small swimming pool. And the baptismal font was in the center in a square, and steps from 2 sides, and you could put chairs all around the square. And some friends came and from the ward, from not young adults yet, but the junior airmen. And I was baptized, and Thom kept me under a real long time. I didn't realize they'd keep you under, you know. I thought just dip you in that stuff, but he dipped me, and I came up. What's happening? And I said, am I baptized? He said, yes. I said, well, why did they keep you so long? Or he said, well, you had a lot of sins to cover, so I had to make sure I got them all washed away.
Really wash you hard, yeah. Rub you hard.
I don't know if he was kidding or felt was true. It was probably true. Anyway, and that was my story of Thom. And then we ran around together. When my car worked, he went with me at places, and his car worked, and then we both worked. And so that was Thom Stay.
You were ready for the cleaner lifestyle?
Oh, yeah.
You had to push to do that? Or?
Yeah, no, I wanted to. Well, I was looking for friends in high school. I was the smallest kid in my class, and most of the time smallest kid in school. And so I'm very insecure. The only thing I had going for me was that I had great athletic skills, even with a torn cartilage, and was on lots of teams, you know. But I didn't have good friends. A lot of friends I had were pretty rough guys. I remember football practice one time, a bunch of guys that asked me to go along. We went along, and we went swimming in the town reservoir, drinking supply. Well, this is a nice group of guys, you know.
What did your mom and dad think?
Mom never kept track of me a lot. And after my dad couldn't beat me anymore, he didn't have anything to do with me after that. Never had anything to do with me. I wrote him some letters from college that never answered him. Never wanted anything to do with me. He didn't know how. He had no idea how to relate to a son or his daughter even, neither one of them. Right. And my mother just kind of let me do what I wanted all the time, all my life. The time that I climbed, when I was about 11 years old, I climbed the top of they built what do they call it? They built a oil well, over in the corner and across from our grammar school. And so one night I just climbed it. I climbed it at about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the evening. I was excited. I was small, and I look back and I think one of the reasons I climbed is I felt tall. There was a eucalyptus tree, huge ones, 2 or 3 of them right at the end of our block. And I climbed those. And you get up in the top and you'd sway, and people come down and look at you. Wow, what is he doing? You're going to die up there. He'd be in the top of a big eucalyptus tree swaying back and forth in the wind. And But I remember coming down off of that oil well, and now it was dark, and I couldn't see the steps. And I'm at the top of the oil well, maybe it's 90 feet, 100 feet, and I'm coming down backwards off an oil well. If there was a way to have done it, I would have come down face first so I could see.
Right.
It was scary.